I just recorded a show with JD McCabe. He wrote a book called The Third Gift, My Dance with the Devil and Her Mother. And he talks about, his ex-wife tried to kill him, and she was putting arsenic in his protein powder, which is pretty fucked up. And, it's crazy as he was talking, I just started remembering things from my own divorce and how fucked up that situation was. And, it was a good conversation. I haven't thought about that stuff in a long time. I mean, I got divorced 10 years ago. Anyway, it's a pretty fucked up relationship he was in, and so was I. So, anyway, it's a great conversation. He's a really good dude. Super excited he was able to join me. So I'm excited to share this with you.
There he is. Travis.
JD, so excited to have you. What's happening?
Likewise. Good to talk to you. So are you in Flint, Michigan, or where are you?
I say Flint because people have heard of it. I'm actually in a town outside of Flint called Grand Blanc. It's probably 5-6 miles away. Yeah, where are you at?
I'm in the Charleston, South Carolina area.
Oh, man, you know what? Actually, I did my homework on that. You're in Mount Pleasant, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Where did you discover that?
Well, I can't remember where I found it, but it grabbed my attention because I've got a close friend who lives in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And May 1st last year, I drove down there just to visit him. He's a guy who's from here in Michigan, works for Cummins. I guess Cummins Diesel has something there. Anyway, man, he showed me a great time. We took a boat out onto the bay. We went out to Fort Sumter. I pulled some busted bricks. Yeah, it was awesome. Pulled some busted bricks out of the beach. I'm a history nut, so it was pretty coon to see. Hey, man, that's where the Civil War started. Kind of a big deal. So cool town. Good for you to get to live there.
Yeah, I just moved down there a couple of years ago. I'm originally from the North Carolina area, but I just started to discover some of the history. It's pretty cool. So
yeah, a lot older than the things we have in Michigan, that's for sure. I mean, at least an extra 100 years anyway. Yeah.
Well, if you get back down there, let me know.
Oh, I certainly will. I enjoyed the heck out of it. It was a beautiful thing. He took me down and showed me what they call it, south of Broad, where all the big buildings are, south of something. Anyway, the oldest part of downtown Charleston, where those big fancy houses are.
Oh yeah, Rainbow Row and all that stuff. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it was a pretty cool thing. So if you don't mind me asking, why go to Charleston from where you were?
I just needed a change of scenery, actually. So I lived in North Carolina for 19 years, and when the book came out, in for the first release came out in March of 2020. I did some pre-release type stuff, so it was January of 2020 that I made the impulsive decision to. I'm an empty nester.
Sure.
My kids are grown, and so I'm like, I just needed a change of scenery. So
I totally get it, and it's crazy your book dropping when it did. That's when my first one came out, is March of 2020 as well. And I found because that's right when all the lockdowns happened, and made it very difficult for me to get out and do any kind of support for it. What kind of challenges did you run into as far as that?
Yeah, same thing. And that's part of why, and I had an opportunity to listen to bits and pieces of episode 59. So I started following you on your podcast. I'm going to
saw that. Appreciate it.
I'm going to pick up your book, and then also did get a chance to scan through. It looks really interesting. Your second book looks really good as well. So,
well, I'm hoping so, man. I got to tell you, and this is a nice transition into your situation. Of course, the people who are watching this, some may know who you are, some may not, but what you went through, I mean, obviously that's a very extreme version, but I'm sure there are a lot of men out there who can connect with, hey, I was in a toxic situation. Yours was actually literally toxic. So if you would, man, run through it real quick. I'm sure you've done it a million times.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you, because I did read a little bit of your backdrop, that you went through a devastation yourself, career change, lost the house, transition. So I'm I'm looking for your book, but I mean, man, how do I encapsulate a 360 page book into a few minutes,
right?
Really? And now looking back, you've got a different perspective on it. But at the time, I would say I was reasonably happily married, right, for 17 years. Right. So I'm in a relationship now. I've been in a great relationship for the last couple of years. So my perspective has absolutely changed. But at the time, reasonably happily married, things really started to fall apart at about the 17th or 18th year. She was a master at gaslighting, master at projection. She essentially it would turn out that everything she was accusing me, she was doing. So on the surface, that's a lot of your traditional divorces, right? Infidelity, drug addiction. But then on top of that, for me, you have to add in an involuntary commitment. Spent 9 days in a psychiatric facility. I would later discover that she had been poisoning me with arsenic.
Wait a minute. Now they decided that there was something so wrong with you that the powers that be came and grabbed you and took you to a
family practitioner. So it was my family practitioner that had me involuntarily committed, with his back to me as he typed on his computer. Essentially said, sounds like you have bipolar, and if you don't go to a particular hospital, I'll have you involuntarily committed. So I went to the psych facility that he had deemed as a place that I need to go. And there's more to it. There's more backdrop to how I got there. Essentially, she hollowed me out. It fits with your platform, because one of the things I'd be very happy to talk about is the fact that I told nobody about what was going on. I kept it all to myself. I don't think it's a masculinity thing. First of all, I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Mm-hmm. But she spun me into such an emotional tailspin, if you will, that the thought of losing my family, as they say, the devil attacks your strength and turns it into a weakness. That's the truth. And my strength was the love of my family. And so the thought of separation, the thought of losing our family unit really just, damn near killed me. But
it's your definition of yourself right there. It's what you've worked for your whole life, eh?
Yeah. So, anyhow, I mean, it was a rough spring of 2014. The weight started to fall off. I had started working out. I didn't even ever suspect that she was poisoning me. We wouldn't figure that out until about a year and a half later, after we had separated. But that weekend was one hell of a weekend. But long story short, our family practitioner had me involuntarily committed. Essentially, She went with the family practice office. I was going to see the family practitioner as a follow-up to all my weight loss and to some of the blood work that was irregular. I mean, Travis, I lost, ultimately, still married, but I lost 65 to 70 pounds in less than 2 months.
That's just, there's no diet that can make you do that. There's no diet. You can literally not eat anything and not lose that much. So that's got to be something else introduced.
Yeah, and I had a lot of irregularities with blood work. White blood cell counts were off, liver enzymes, a couple of other enzymes were elevated. So that's why I was seeing the family practitioner. But went to see him for a follow-up. She was gracious enough to go with me. She relayed the events of the weekend, called the cops on me that weekend. I mean, it was a perfect storm. And he just looked at me and said, if you lose your family, what will you do? How will that make you feel? And of course, I was hollowed out at that point. Sure. I simply said, if I lose my family, I'm not sure what I will do. That's all I said. There were no specific suicidal ideations. Of course not. Yep. But it was the point that the little white piece of paper came out. So I ended up going to an acute care facility, because the dedicated psych hospital that I went to, they told me it's an 8 to 10 hour wait to have a seat in the lobby. And I looked around me, no disrespect to the folks that were there, but I'm like, I'm not staying here. Yeah. So I went to an acute care facility. I'm in the medical pharmaceutical field. I know the hospitals in the area. I knew that one that had a dedicated psych unit. Went there, spent 3 days there, and then got a police transport to the place I was trying to avoid. So all in all, I spent 9 days in psychiatric lockup. Would later discover, and the title of the book is The Third Gift, My Dance with the Devil and Her Mother. And the third gift of all things is a revelation that she made during one of our mediations. And I'm fast forwarding here, but that I gave her sexually transmitted herpes. But it was that accusation that opened my eyes to the fact, first of all, the marriage is over. Second of all, everything that she'd accused me of doing, she was doing. And I would spend hours upon hours looking at 5 years worth of her medical claims and 5 years worth of her pharmacy claims. I would discover a pattern of massive infidelity. I would discover a hidden prescription drug addiction, and would later discover that she was using our kids for a couple of years to fill prescriptions in their names. And it's the same family practitioner that had me involuntarily committed that allowed her to refill these prescriptions, 600 days worth. Now it was 30 days at a time. Right. 600 days worth between both of our kids, because I would later seek the revelation that her doctor, her miracle worker that was writing whatever she wanted for cash.
And there it is. I knew there had to be some kind of connection between her and this doctor. I knew there was something there. Keep going.
Yeah, so he got into trouble with it. This is a different doctor. It's not the family practitioner.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Another guy that didn't take insurance, but would do a bullshit exam on her for $250 and send her out the door with whatever prescription she wants. The North Carolina Medical Board, the DEA, got wise to this guy and shut him down. And so that's why she had to turn to our children until she could find a psychiatrist that would pretty much write whatever she wanted. And I know that to be factual because this psychiatrist would later testify at our alimony trial. And under cross-examination, it would be revealed that it was my now ex-wife that asked her to write for Adderall and Adderall XR, and she wrote. She wrote for her whatever she wanted.
Wow.
Because
just enabling.
It took her at face value that, no, she told me she has this. She told me she has that. She said she had been on it for, 10 years from a previous therapist, which was, all nonsense. But anyhow, the third gift really set me free emotionally, allowed me to be able to begin to rebuild my identity as a father and, as a man. And I allowed to take that from me. So again, I appreciate the work that you're trying to do around masculinity. I look forward to diving into some of your content more with both of your books. But so drug addiction, infidelity, psychiatric lockup, survived arsenic poisoning. So that's at that point where it becomes a little greater than a traditional divorce.
Yeah, indeed. That's and if no other reason, and anybody who's watching this, I hope it's going to go, well, shit, it wasn't that bad for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't as rough as, man, this guy went through some terrible stuff. And I can connect with you on a lot of it. I don't really advertise this, but because I'm talking to you, I mean, I was married to an attorney, and she had some problems of her own that, involved drug addiction as well, and alcoholism, and hiding the heck out of it. And same thing, accusing me of a lot of things where I'm going, hey, I'm a track coach. I'm coaching high school track and field. And yeah, I'm going to be out till 1 a.m. If there's a lightning delay at a regional track meet, she accused me of cheating on her, and that's, I knew I wasn't, but I know now that that's what people who are guilty about their own actions do. They accuse you of doing the things that they're doing, and when I look back at all the things she did accuse me of, holy cow, she was doing some terrible stuff. You know what I mean? And I mean, for you, you're in that situation, and you're thinking, because I've been there. I've been in your shoes in that situation, and I'm thinking, man, I feel like I'm a pretty good dude here. How come she can't see this? I wonder for you, how long of a span of time there between her accusing you of things and you finally going, no, this isn't me. This isn't me. I mean, you didn't figure that out until the third gift happened, to the herpes incident?
Well, no, I mean, I started figuring that out, believe it or not, when I was in the psychiatric facility. So her mantra was, we never had trust in the marriage. And she would later, our daughter was 15 at the time. She would go to our daughter and tell our daughter. My daughter would later move in with me after she saw the truth. To our daughter and our son, and would essentially tell them that I'm a drug addict. Your father has mood. Father, you should fear your father. And of course, it didn't help my cause that I spent 9 days in a psychiatric facility.
It doesn't look good. You know what I mean? To your daughter. I mean, and it feel like that's what it is. It's like it's personality assassination. You know what I mean?
I say her story was perfect. Everybody she went to, whether it was friends, people in my extended family, she was building her her negative advocate group. She was building it. Yeah. And there were, when I get out of the psychiatric facility and try to attend, my daughter's football games and stuff, there were people that wouldn't look at me like, there's the crazy man. I'm not,
because they drank the Kool-Aid too, man. I hate that shit. That just is, it's sad that so people could be swayed so easily.
Yeah. So her story was damn near perfect, right? So guy was diagnosed bipolar, spent 9 days in the psych facility. He's lost all this weight. He's getting in shape. Sure, he's cheating on me. And by the way, he might be doing drugs too. So I was later accused by her mother of being addicted to porn, being addicted to drugs, and her mother on a beach trip threatened to kill me, just out of the blue. So that's why the subtitle is My Dance with the Devil and Her Mother. Yeah,
man. So what was the relationship like between those two? And I guarantee you, I'm going to find some parallels there with my situation as well.
They were as thick as thieves, and I graciously opened. She lived in Pennsylvania. We lived in North Carolina. Opened our door for whenever. She would, vacation with her. She was a widow, so we would vacation with her welcome her into our home. I never had a cross word with this lady in 23 years that I knew her.
Okay.
Did try to confront her with some of the concerns I had about her daughter. I didn't make any of these discoveries yet, but I had some real concerns about her daughter's mental state.
Sure.
And yeah, she just simply cut me off and said, no comment. You two need to separate. But I started to really begin to believe that it wasn't me when I was in the psychiatric facility. When you spend time with people that have
that are really, really screwed up,
you go, okay.
Yeah.
And at that point, you think you're at rock bottom, but she did a great job of pulling me in emotionally, wrote me the most beautiful, not lengthy, but most beautiful letter when I was in the psych facility, about how much she loved me and how she doesn't want to see me emotionally broken anymore. It gives you a false hope. But the abuse quickly began after I got out of the psych facility. And within 6 days, I had retained an attorney to begin looking at separation and divorce, because she had one for 6 to 8 to 9 months prior. She was doing a lot of this shit behind my back.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that was the divorce attorney kind of letting her know, hey, man, might help if you did this, might help if you did that.
I'll never know. But her plan was, like I said, damn near perfect. And that by the time she revealed or accused me of giving her herpes, we had separated. We went to our first mediation. And that, like I said, that opened my eyes and helped me to really see, okay, this wasn't you. Okay. Everything that she's been beating you into the ground was her. So again, she had a damn near perfect plan. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 months before our alimony trial began that, I discovered the arsenic poisoning after a long medical journey of trying to figure out what was causing my abnormalities and so forth, so on.
Yeah, that's, man, like I said, I just keep seeing all these parallels. I had a conversation with a guy right before I ended up leaving, guy that I trust. And I was telling him some of the, more terrible instances that had happened. And I said, man, what doesn't scare me is it isn't that these things are happening that scares me. It's the fact that these things happening don't really scare me. I'm getting so used to this. It seems so normal to me. And I asked him, I'm like, I wonder what it's going to take for me to leave. And he says, do you want to find out? Do you really want to know? I mean, how bad it's going to have to get for you to want to leave on your own? And, that made a lot of sense to me. And we were frankly right where you're talking about. She was trying to talk me into committing myself into some sort of facility. And I know when I look back, I'm like, well, and the same thing. She had a psychologist in her pocket and, had convinced him to diagnose me as bipolar. And, I'd gone through several rounds of different drugs. I was just trying to do everything I could do to make it work, as we do. And, but when it came to, hey, I'm going to have to commit myself, that's when the light came on for me. I'm like, I'm not a bad person at all. I'm just in a bad relationship. And that's responsible. I'm responsible for my own decisions, but that's the environment that's caused this. So once you, and I think I'm going to know the answer, but once you get that point where you're like, all right, really, this isn't me. They talk about, I assume there's some relief there. There's some sort of an unburdening.
Yeah. I mean, it was a huge emotional relief. When that accusation was made, I can't describe the pace with which the emotion struck me, right? First it's shock.
Yeah.
That's what the fuck, what are you talking about? I gave you what? Oh my God. I got the revelation, and God, I'm a man of faith, and God absolutely did intervene, because going into that first mediation, I had no idea where the marriage was heading. I had no idea if we're going to, separate for a while, continue to try to work it out, continue to go to some bullshit therapy, or what we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just such a relief. And then it was immediate panic to go, oh my God, I need to pray that I test negative, because I am certain that she had thought she had infected me, because we were together 3 nights in a row. We hadn't been together in 4 months. We were together in a row 2 weeks before I was manipulated out of the house. So she used our daughter to essentially say, look, our daughter just needs a break. Why don't you go to a hotel for a week till she calms down a little bit? Well, I agreed to do that for the sake of our daughter. And of course that meant you're never coming back into the house.
Ever. Once you leave the house, it's gone. You write it off. It's gone, man.
So it's huge relief. So it was the emotions, gratitude, anger, shock, betrayal, all of it just came flooding in. And ultimately the one that would always rise to the top, and does today, is gratitude. Without that revelation, I would never. I dodged a bullet, but I would have never have discovered all the other stuff. I would not have had answers to what the hell is going on with her, because she, and this is the other twisted part of it, Travis, for 15 years of our marriage, and I believed it, even though I was in the medical, even though I am in the medical pharmaceutical field, she would allege that she had an autoimmune disease. She would go see specialist after specialist. And
so what does that do? How does that tie in?
Well, it ties in because a lot of people would comment on social media. Most of them have been tremendously supportive, but there are some that go, how could you not see this? How could you not see some of these things? Well,
I've heard that too.
Yeah. That's why I was smiling as you were, unfortunately telling your story to go, wow, okay,
I get it.
I am not alone.
Yeah.
But that ties in because being in the medical field, I consulted with neurologists separately, privately, to say, look, I'm starting to see some paranoia, starting to see some delusions. She has anger outbursts, everything she was accused me. And again, the delusions.
She was doing it. Yeah.
Well, it can come along with an autoimmune disease. I mean, it can. Yeah, there is a connection there. There was a connection to some of the physical symptoms she was having in the female region, shall we say?
Sure.
That I were symptoms from multiple STDs.
Man, I know it's not funny. It's not funny, but you and I can look back at this and go, all right, yeah.
So I mean, I would pass that off. This is due to her alleged autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
We weren't big drinkers in the marriage, but whenever on occasion we'd have a couple of drinks, she'd have 2 or 3 drinks and she'd pass out. And I would go, I mean, she would black out.
Well, so she was on pills too. That's what that is. Yeah.
On Adderall, Lexar, Ritalin, benzodiazepines, mood stabilizers. I knew the meds she was taking for her alleged autoimmune disease, but I say alleged now because when we got to the alimony trial, we subpoenaed all of her medical records. They subpoenaed mine. We subpoenaed hers because their story was going to be she's way too sick to ever work full time.
Oh, man.
And need to pay alimony for the next 17 years, and he's going to need to do this and do that. I won't tell you how it ends, but we want there was no expert, there was no medical expert that testified that she had the disease. And in fact, the reverse is true. We subpoenaed the medical records from an esteemed clinic down in Florida that she visited twice on her own, and they said, oh, she does not have an autoimmune disease. If she does, she has a very minor form of it. So it's all in her head.
Yeah.
People believe that that's where the arsenic poisoning came into play. It was Munchausen's by proxy.
Okay.
I know what that is. Yeah, I'm gonna make you sick. And she, even though she was poisoning me, she would mock me and she would say, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to figure out what all this weight loss is all about. Lo and behold, she was the one poisoning me. So man, I assume at some point, because I know I did, you had to like start wondering, what changed inside of her? What type of a mind does this? I mean, like you said, 17, 18 years of, and when you say reasonably happy, I know what you mean. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, but that's how a marriage goes, right? You get some ups and downs, but most of the time you're pretty happy. You're happier there than anywhere else. And then at some point, something changed, something shifted. Did you get any insight into that? Yeah, and I talk about that in the book. I mean, that's why the herpes, people laugh at it and go, well, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It indeed is the gift that kept on giving to me. I have it. Let's be clear. I don't have it. I don't have any of the STDs.
Good for you.
But I believe it was her father's death. And this is where the story becomes even more complicated.
Did you know him? Were you close with him?
Well, we were close for the last 5 years of his life. Yeah. So
I knew my ex-father-in-law too. We were tight. He was a good dude, but they hated him. Her mom and her, they didn't like him, but I thought he was great. Anyway,
she had been estranged from him for 10 years when we first started dating. Her father came out of the closet when she was 2. Accepted his homosexuality. Her parents got divorced. So I think this is where the whole abandonment piece comes into play.
That's pretty early age. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Feeds into borderline personality disorder, which they're certain that she has. And I'm certain she has, amongst other things. But so she had a great relationship with her father. up until her first marriage. So that was the first big boo-boo, big red flag that I missed, was that when I met her, she had been married briefly for 8 weeks, never moved in with a gentleman. The story that her mother and grandmother supported was that because her father wasn't in her life, she was looking for a father figure. And this guy was 10 years her senior. And, he was controlling, he was abusive. Everything they said about this guy, they would say about me, and
Later
worse,
on.
20 years later.
Yeah.
But I am certain, 95% certain that she also cheated on her first husband, because
in 8 weeks, she found time to cheat in 8 weeks.
I'm thinking so, because why else would her father? Again, she had a great relationship with her father. Her father spent a couple days with them on their honeymoon, according to her.
That's kind of fucked up. Who brings their parents on their honeymoon?
Right,
what
right.
kind of shit is that?
He spent a couple days with them. They honeymooned in Florida. He lived in Florida, so maybe he just popped over for a couple days. I don't know, but
yeah, okay.
Her relationship had been great until that marriage fell apart. And what I could never understand around with, her father took in her ex-husband, and I validated. I validated all this stuff through looking at county records in Florida. Did look at the housing records and did find that this guy's name was listed on the house with her father and with his life partner. The story I got back was, well, my father's gay, and he was always attracted to my ex-husband.
That's what was told to you. What do you think that's legit? You think there was something else?
No, I believe that she cheated on him or did something to him, and that's why her father took him in. So she was close to her father. Then after that point, she was estranged from her dad for 10 years. She only reconnected with her father because our son at the time, at 6, innocently, they knew about grandpa. They never met grandpa. She said, why don't you just call him, Mom? And she did. And they reconnected for 5 years. It was a superficial relationship. I supported it. I was worried about her getting hurt again.
Yeah, makes sense.
She was doing the hurting. And he was a pretty cool guy. We never got into what happened in the past. We kept it superficial. It was about our kids and getting them.
Sure.
He had a massive heart attack 5 years into the reconnection with her. And because he was gay, she had to make the determination in Florida. They didn't recognize gay marriage at the time. So she had to make the difficult decision to turn off his life support. And then 2 years later, his life partner died at an early age. And she had been previously very, very close to both of these guys. So I'm certain, as you know, guilt can be a very toxic emotion. I think
it'll take you right down.
That ate her up. And it was at that point, Travis, that when I dug into everything and looked back as far as I could into her drug addiction, that's when the pills started.
Okay.
So all of her paranoia, all of her delusions, some of the issues, all of the mental stuff that I attributed to her autoimmune disease was from the amphetamines and the benzodiazepines and all the other pills that she was taking. I had no idea she was taking all this shit. No idea.
Now, I know exactly what amphetamines do. I've done the research on Adolf Hitler, right? And how that, they got the German army across Europe in such a short amount of time. And everybody knows what meth is, of course. But benzodiazepines, not completely familiar. What are those?
Yeah, I think it was downers, right?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, your Xanax. So she was doing a version of prescription speedballing, up, down.
Up and down. Okay.
Yeah, take the amphetamines during the day. Take the sleeping pills and the benzos at night to bring you back down. And they're powerful. They're powerful. They destroyed her mind. She's still on them today. I haven't had any contact with her in 4 years. Our kids don't have a relationship with her. Haven't seen her in a couple of years. So that's sad, but I've come to terms with that because their lives are better off without her in it.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah. It sucks to admit, or it sucks to accept that. To say, this is a person that I'm going to remove out of my life. It's not like you're getting a new car or moving. It's a person, it's a tough thing to come to.
And they had to make those decisions. They're young adults now. I couldn't be prouder of the choices they've made. They had every right to go off the rails, but they didn't. They're kids of faith as well. And they made the decision to block her and cut her out of her lives because she started attacking them.
Well, you got to give yourself JD some credit there too, man. They need a rock at that time, and I'm sure that was you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. One of my my favorite chapters in the book is chapter 19 titled "Hi, Daddy," when my daughter came back into my life. So,
Oh man, good for you.
sadly, she had to witness her mom's. Her mom had an episode after high school. She came home from high school. Mom couldn't walk. Mom couldn't talk. There was dog food all over the floor, and she was in withdrawal. My daughter didn't know it at the time, but
Yeah.
I'm watching. After I left the house, and once I got access to her medical claims and pharmacy claims, and I want to be clear for any of your listeners, people say, well, how did you, even my attorney said, how did you get access to all this information? Well,
I know the answer. Go ahead.
Right on my insurance company's website.
So you get a statement of benefits. That's how I found out what was going on with my ex-wife. I got a statement of benefits a couple of months after. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, I had no idea I had access to. No idea.
Yeah.
And even insurance companies like, sir, we can't discuss that with you. That's a HIPAA violation. I said, I'm looking at it right now. Where are you seeing that? I said, it's on your website.
Yeah.
I'm the primary card holder.
Yeah.
Anyhow, she witnessed mom being in withdrawal. She would stop and start her pills because she was looking for a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And and she had like a stroke-like episode. She had 3 or 4, 2 of those when we were happily married. And again, I attributed it to her autoimmune disease because it can attack your central nervous system. It can attack your brain. It can cause strokes, but she didn't have strokes. It was, what they call cerebral vasculitis. And that's really from the amphetamines primarily. So I'm not sure how she's still alive today, to be honest with you.
Vasculitis. So there'll be inflammation of the arteries in your brain.
Yep. So it mimics a stroke. And then, it's like a spasm, if you will. And then it'll open. She was fine. She had to go to the rehab for it, physical rehab, but never once did she tell me, tell anybody, tell her cardiologist, because she was having all sorts of cardiac issues too.
What a shocker. Yeah.
Well, to the Munchausen's, she put herself and put our family through all sorts of cardiac tests, cardiac catheterizations, cardiac tilt table tests. She loved it. She loved the attention she would receive from the physicians and the specialists. She thrived on it, but never once said, oh, by the way, I'm taking 3 different formulations of amphetamines. Do you think that might cause that? It blows my mind. Absolutely blows.
Well, that was her little secret, of course, right? I'm curious about this. Does she have any siblings, your ex-wife?
She does. She has a brother.
Older, younger?
Older brother. They were never very close. I don't know. I haven't talked to her in 4 years. I never spoke to this guy.
Is he a lot older? Or are they close? I mean, in age-wise, are they close?
They're 4 years apart. He's my, but he was at the alimony trial to support her. As my brother said, no, he's only here so he can guarantee he's going to get inheritance from mom.
Oh.
He's here. He has to be here. But I never heard from the guy. Even when she started the accusations that she was afraid of me, she went so far. She not only tried to set me up with all this shit. I don't know when it occurred, but she smacked her own ass so hard several times and put handprints on it, took pictures of it, and tried to and submitted those at our deposition. I'm like, this is a new revelation. When did I do that?
Right.
That I was so hard that I bruised her backside. She did it herself and took pictures.
Yeah, and of course your hands are the same size, so that makes perfect sense.
Feared me because that was the death threat from her mother on the beach trip was, if you put your hands on my daughter, I will kill you.
Mm.
Her brother was on that beach trip with his family. Where was he with that conversation?
Right.
Well, I brought it up to him during that beach trip. I did bring up the fact that, I wanted him to know that I loved his sister. Sure. I wanted him to know that I had not been inappropriate with another woman. Mm-hmm. He said, are you sure about that? And I said, I bet my life on it.
Well, but see, dude, she's going to him and she is so convinced, man. I'm not in her head, and I hope I never am. Just like I'm not in my ex-wife's head, I hope I never am. But I believe that they are so convinced that this is real that, how could they not sell anybody else on it? My ex-wife would go around to my family members and tell them about how I was bipolar and I had all these problems and we were dealing with all these issues. And without telling me, she would just go over there and talk to my aunt and uncle and sell them on her over me, sort of thing. And I always thought, well, you really think they're going to buy you over their own family? I don't know, man. But I think she's so convinced. How can she not be convincing?
Yeah, but what shocked me was that I never heard from him. A pretty good sized guy. I never heard on that beach trip. He never said anything to me about her fearing me.
Sure.
Never.
You
Yeah,
think
I
a
would
brother would in that case, hey?
step up and say, "Look, man,
Yeah.
just if you lay a hand on my sister, yeah." But never once. And I haven't heard from him till this day. I haven't heard from him in years. I didn't hear from him as we went throughout the whole situation. So I believe that they're both well aware of what they were dealing with, and they did what they had to do. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
So I stayed in the marriage inexplicably for another 6 or 7 months after I got out of the psychiatric facility. But anyhow,
Wow.
so yeah. I mean, because it was, I don't know if you ever read the book I Hate You, Don't Leave Me, but she was a master at it.
Okay.
Emotional support, and then boom, abuse 2 days later. Intimacy, we weren't intimate all that often, but when we were intimate, it would be, I love you, but we're going to work this out. And then 3 days later, she's throwing some other grenade at me. I never knew which end was up. So definitely walking on eggshells every day.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll pull you back in so I can punch you in the face again. But so I stayed in the marriage that long, but he convinced me. I finally took his advice after a few months. He's like, look, if you're going to stay, you need to start documenting all this stuff. You need to document everything that goes on every day, whether it's good or whether it's bad. You need to protect yourself. You've been misdiagnosed with bipolar. You've had the cops called on you. You were locked up in a psychiatric facility. You need to start protecting yourself. So I had, by the time I started writing the book, I had close to 100 pages.
Already documented.
8.5 by 11 single space. And so, yeah, I was pretty disciplined that I would crank out a chapter. I didn't care how late I'd be up, but I wrote a lot of the book with music in my ears. And, I crank out a chapter. It took me about a year. And then I had a good friend of mine who also wasn't a writer that agreed to take a look at my stuff. And he looked at it and he added his little flair to it. And of course, then we had an editor and so forth, so on.
Yeah, editor's invaluable, man. I was an English teacher, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be great. And then the editor's like, oh, no, you got a lot of problems here. And so you got to have that set of eyes.
I was using Grammarly. I was using any subscription service I could, so I tried to do a lot of the editing ahead of myself. But yeah, the guidance from the editor and the publisher was great. So I started with the hook of being locked up in the psychiatric facility, and then we kind of worked back from there. But yeah, it took about a year to write, and then I got lucky that a friend of mine, a colleague of mine at work, was going through something similar. Mm-hmm. So we went out for a couple of drinks, and I told him my stories. I guess it's not a book; this is a movie. And he happened to know. He had a contact at the publisher that ended up getting the book published through them. And then I've moved on to a different. He's moved on and started his own publishing company, so I moved on with him as he moved, but. I didn't get any upfront money. I built a little business around it and, funded it myself. And my vision for it, Travis, is to be able to give back to others. So I've not even paid myself a dime yet. I haven't broken even. The struggles, right?
I'm right there with you, bud. I'm in the hole.
Don't go into a bookstore because it'll buckle your knees, because you'll look and go, my God, there's 90 million books out there. Why would anybody want to read my stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping to give back to former military, and I'm looking to support a center for women, for homeless, abused women that are former drug addicts that are trying to get back on their feet. It was a center that was very near and dear to my mom's heart. And
okay, I was wondering what the connection was there. Figure or something.
Trying to turn some bad into some good for others. So, But
yeah, that's I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for me, that idea of, hey, I can help some people here, maybe not make the same mistakes I made, because that's how I look at it. I chose to be there. I chose to stay. I chose to continue to stay. I chose all that, and maybe with some better education by us sharing what we do, that might help some people. And very honestly, I have this. I'm not a faith guy, but I have this feeling that you got to kind of make up for your mistakes in some way, right? And how do you make up for some mistakes that you made in the marriage that you're not in, you're not going to be in? Well, I don't know. You help some people that are out there. You know what I mean? I feel like it's kind of filling back in, making up, apologizing almost for things I did wrong. Because I know I did, man. I mean, I wasn't perfect that whole time. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just this statue of awesomeness and she was all the problems. I mean, no, man, I did dumb stuff. I said stupid things. I reacted in ways I shouldn't have. I did a lot of things I'm embarrassed about. And, what I learned is that I'm capable of that. I didn't think I was, but I think that's a great thing to know. I think to know that I can do a horrible thing. Now I know what it feels like to do that horrible thing, which means I know I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. But yeah, helping other people not have to experience that. I mean, that's where I come out. Like I said, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I mean, that's it. I mean, I look at it as an opportunity. Adversity gives you an opportunity to transition. Adversity gives you an opportunity to find renewed purpose. And, you know, I'm not only going through the transition coming out of divorce, but then also the transition of being an empty nester. Right. So,
right.
You know, that,
so there's a purpose void there can be, right? I mean, shit, my life was this and all that's gone. I mean, I've been through that as well. What's your purpose now? I guess I can ask you. That's a big ass question, but I'm curious how you got there and what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, my purpose now is really, and I've been told that, my story is God's story told through me. Right.
Okay.
So, crazy, but the book really started to get traction last July. Yeah, July 9th, which is JD McCabe's birthday.
Okay.
That's July 9th because that's the day I tested negative for herpes. Yeah.
That'll work. That's my dad's birthday too.
Yes, I got back happy birthday to your dad, but I got
happy birthday to your your man parts.
Yeah, my man parts. Yeah, so that's my Independence Day, but it was last night that I'm making it a priority to get closer to God and spend more time, make him more of a priority in my life. And so I asked him, what do you want me to do with this book? What do you want? What's your purpose for me with this book? We had been on TikTok. I've got a young lady that helps me with social media. She works 4 or 5 hours a week. She's fantastic. I don't know how to do this stuff.
You're doing a great job, man. Your stuff is awesome. That's what caught my attention.
Well, thank you. I wasn't on social media prior to it, to promoting the book. So she got us on TikTok in January of 21. Started making God more of a priority in my life. Excuse me. Yeah, took it to him directly. Asked him what he wanted me to do with it. We had put up arsenic videos before on TikTok. Prior to July 9th of last year, I had less than 5,000 followers. I now have 228,000 followers.
Yeah, you're doing well.
So July 9th, we put up an arsenic video that went viral. 2.5 million views. That's time that we put up this. Well, I've done other arsenic videos that have hit 15 million, 7 million. And of course, you get your naysayers going, this is the only stuff you ever post. I'm like, this is what it's a huge
just the parts that they're seeing. They're only seeing those. They're not seeing the rest of your stuff.
Right. It's a huge platform with 1 billion people on it. So I look at that thing. Okay, this is what I want you to do with it. I want you to take it, use this book, and then I'm waiting for further clarity from him as to what the bigger purpose is beyond this. But for me, it's about being able, as you said, Travis, it's about being able to help others. And there was the support I've received on social media from many that have said, man, thank you for sharing your story. I've gone through something similar. This is both female and male. Mm-hmm. It's fulfilling. But there are times, to be honest with you, as you had said, and I went through this just a couple weeks ago, where I'm like, I want to shut all this down. I want to shut it all down because I want to remove the last bit of emotional connection. It's not difficult for me to talk about anymore. I can smile about it. But it's like, I truly, truly want to, move on and forget it. But then I got to remember, well, you've got a financial commitment that you've got to hit. So, and for the sake of my kids, they've been very supportive. They both read the book. They're young adults. I didn't start writing it till I had their consent to do so.
Well done.
But my daughter struggles at times with some of it, even though, again, she's a young adult. I think it's because some of her friends, I told her, I'm like, look, you got to establish some boundaries with your friends. They'll send TikTok videos of mine to her. I said, block me on social media, but I said, set boundaries with her friends. So there are times when you think, all right, you really need to shut this down and fully move on. And, I wrestle with that. I go back and forth. And so opportunities to be on podcasts like yours, it just further energizes me that, you're doing the right thing.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
it's just a situation where it's going to ebb and flow for you, and that's okay, man. I mean, you've been in your career's probably that way. Sometimes you're very motivated to kick some ass. Other times you're like, man, I could use a vacation. You know,
Yeah.
that's how I rationalize it myself, because I've experienced exactly what you're talking about. I mean, there's times where I couldn't be more fired up, and it's 3 a.m. and I'm still trying to get things out, cut up clips, or
Yeah.
doing whatever I'm doing. And there's other times where I'm like, man, I don't want to even open my phone. You know what I mean? It kind of comes and goes on you like that.
What platforms are you on? You're on
So
Instagram.
I wrote the first book. Publisher said, hey, you need to support it. So they're like, do a blog. I'm like, well, that's more writing. What if I do a podcast? She's like, all right, cool. So I started the podcast, and that was on YouTube, and YouTube is basically dead. I mean, like, I don't get anything on there, but I put it on there just so it's on YouTube. Where I get the traction is on TikTok. I take clips of my 30-minute podcast, just little, several second clips, and I put those on TikTok, and those do okay. And like you, I never know what's gonna work and what isn't, man. I put out like a video of my cabin. I built this cabin up north. I talk about masculinity. One of the things you need to be able to do is build shit, right? So I show videos of my cabin, and I had one of those go hundreds of thousands of views. I haven't hit 1 million, but and that's where I'll get a bunch of eyeballs, and you don't know. It's kind of unpredictable. But yeah, so I'm on Instagram, which is a great place for me to find other professionals. Like, I think that's where I reached out to you initially.
Yeah.
You're on Instagram, right? Yeah. So Instagram's great for that. TikTok's where I kind of see the show. Oh my God, look at what all this. Oh, I'm interested in that one. Let's see if they're on Instagram. Then I go to Instagram and look, and hey, I'd like to talk to you. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I do it. And as far as podcasts, that's on every app.
Yeah, and I found you on Spotify. I think I'm following you on TikTok. I'll have to double check.
I think you are too.
Make sure that I am. But yeah, there's it's an unbelievable platform. It's and that was validation for me that, okay, he wants you to do something with it.
Yeah.
And so we'll keep pushing. There's been a lot of tremendous opportunities that have come out of it. Like national.
Yeah, like what kind of things have come your way?
Well, and I've had some large opportunities on some major networks. That one didn't pan out because I won't mention who it is, but one didn't pan out because their legal folks were concerned about the arsenic stuff. But then
That's weird.
I had another one, a real big one, that they wanted to do a he said she said type deal.
And bring your ex-wife in and talk to her.
They found her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's no. I'm not doing that one. I'd say no to that.
Well, I said no to that. I mean, they reached out to me. I didn't know what the platform was going to be. It was going to be huge. It's going to start airing in May. Again, I'm not going to say what network, but they reached out to her, and then this is what caused the tailspin again for my daughter, because she didn't hear from mom much, but then she heard from mom more lies that dad's trying to exploit the situation, and I've got an attorney, and I'm going to defend myself, and so forth, so on. So, yeah, they were less than forthright with me about the opportunity. So yeah, I turned it down. But I've had Daily Mail TV that has done an expert on it. So, and again, I thank you for this opportunity to chat with you about it. So
yeah, man, it's a great time. I feel lucky that I got a chance to talk to you, and I realize that when I reach out to somebody and say, hey, let's have a chat, it's the fact that I have this show and I've written these books, but man, I mean, after I saw what you went through, I saw so many parallels. I just wanted to talk to you from the Travis Neville perspective, not for any of this professional stuff. Like, I would have been happy just talking to you on the phone and not recording and not doing anything with it. I just wanted to hear what you had to say, and bigger than all that, see you recovered, see you stronger, comfortable. And I know, man, that's going to go up and down too. You have your down times, I'm sure, but more than that, I'm sure you're up and you're stronger and better, and
yeah,
most
of the time it's up, and so you appreciate the little things in life, and you seize the little moments, and
So JD, what I'm going to do, I want to send you some swag, man. I want to send you a Travis Neville podcast T-shirt, some stickers, copy of the book, that kind of thing. So I'll email you, and I'll get a good shipping address, and I'll send that stuff over. And absolutely, man, the next time I'm in South Carolina, I would love to sit down and have a beer with you, man. Shake your hand.
That would be great. I'd love it. So let me know when you get down there. And I thank you for the opportunity to chat with you. I'd be happy to do it again. Your second book is coming out when?
Don't quote me on this, but by the end of the week, you should be able to see it on Amazon. So I just went through the publisher warehouse BS. Well, you probably know what Ingram is because you have books. So I just, gave it the green check mark on Ingram on Monday. So what they said was that was it. It's the last thing I had to do. So hopefully, by the end of the week. But I'll certainly send you a message. I sent you a copy of it, didn't I? Just by PDF.
Yeah, you did. But I want to support you, and I'll pick up.
Appreciate that.
It's only going to be available. Is it available directly from your? Is it available on a hardcover?
It's just paperbacks. All I did. You can go to travisneville.com and pre-order it now, or just wait a few days. You'll be able to get it on Amazon and probably on the publisher website. I haven't verified that with them, but yeah, dude, it's all done.
I'll get it through you because you're going to make better margin that way, right?
You're absolutely right. You're in the business, so you get it. Do you have a place where everybody else can buy your stuff, or should they just go to Amazon?
Well, if they want signed copies, they can order it through Ballast Books. So BALLAST Books.
I'm going to write that down so that I can put the text up when I process this. Okay, Ballast Books.
Yeah, and there's a link on my profile page with several purchase options.
Okay.
So Ballast Books, Amazon, Target, Walmart, any of the online retailers, libraries can order it. Folks have said, look, how do I get it in Australia or the UK? Coverage internationally, which has been great. But the options are on my link in my profile page.
Okay.
So available, pretty much it's available everywhere. The other thing with your great voice, I would suggest you do an audiobook. You ever thought of doing an audiobook?
Oh yeah, man. I recorded the first one. I just haven't recorded the second one yet. You can get my first book on Audible. I actually added some cool stuff in there. So is yours on Audible yet?
Yeah, it's there.
Did you record yours as well yourself?
I edited it. Yeah, I did it in my closet.
Good man. That's fine, man. Whatever it takes. Nobody knows where you're sitting as long as it sounds good. You know what I mean?
Right. I did it in my closet with blankets and pillows and some guidance with some great coaching from my wonderful girlfriend. And so, I recorded it last summer. It's available and a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do. So that's available on Audible, Amazon, iTunes, and whatever. So
good. I'll make sure everybody sees it. Again, JD, it was truly my pleasure. Thanks so much for spending the time.
Absolutely. The pleasure was all mine. And when will this episode air? Just curious, because I'll have some social media stuff put out there.
That'd be awesome. So let's see. I've got one going on the 28th already. That's today, isn't it? Yep, that's out. The 4th is already recorded. You'll probably come out on April 18th, which is the day after Easter. And I can keep in touch with you. As soon as I know it's going to come out, what I'll do is I'll send you the MP4 as well. So you have the whole thing recorded with my logos and all that stuff. And you want to chop it up and release little clips on TikTok or however you want to use it, it's there for you. It's all going to be recorded, audio remastered, all that stuff. And then, of course, when I cut up clips and put them out on TikTok, I'll tag you so you can use all that stuff as well. Hopefully this will be helpful for you.
Well, the pleasure's been all mine, and I look forward to doing whatever I can to help support your books as well. Like I said, I've scanned the PDF you sent me, and it looks like it's a really interesting read. So,
likewise. Thanks so much, JD. We will talk soon.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Take care.
See you. Bye.